Not all dogs are from Georgia, but they end up in Atlanta. Welcome to the Bird Band. Michael Penix is the best quarterback in NFC South. Matthew Judon is bitching about his bad performance last year. But first, if you love what we're doing at Point Game Official and the Falcons Bird Band, hit that like and subscribe button for us. The Falcons are in OTAs, and we do know the Bucs are opening against the Falcons here in Atlanta for the first game of the season. And we got 5 primetime games. The NFL is definitely believing that the Falcons are going to be good this year. Look at what Maxx Crosby has to say about some of the moves he just made.
Atlanta Falcons, they need pass rush. Going all in. We're drafting 2 DNs in the first round. We don't give a The 2 best ends that we think, in our opinion, they got 2 young ballers. I've watched their film. Dogs.
I really love the depth that the Falcons have brought to the team this year. Last year at this time, the Falcons didn't actually have any players that were pushing any of the starters for competition.
We just drafted. Now can you go compete against those guys? Because if you're ready to start in your mind and then they're ready to start, we're going to be really good.
This Falcons team has a lot of guys who can just flat out play. They're not worried about the metrics, 4.5 speed, 4.4 speed. Hey, can a guy see the ball, get ball, and go and play fast? I had a lot of fans comment on my last video saying that we were going to use them on the interior. But a lot of coach talk with Nate Ollie and Jeff Ulbrich tells us how they're going to use Jaylen Walker a lot more effectively and versatilely this year. And more than just being an edge rusher. And I'm going to give you an unexpected proxy of a player who you could compare him to. We're going to hop into it with my boy J-Bo. It's been a lot going on with this Falcons rookie minicamp and a lot of the offseason moves that have been going on. You were a pretty good athlete yourself, and you even coached up Anthony Edwards, a couple other athletes that made it pro. You know a thing or two about great athletes and what it takes, like just having guys who are just all-around players, no matter the measurables, but guys who can actually may have high sports IQ and play faster. One thing I like about the Falcons with a lot of their offseason moves, what they've done between not only the free agents, but also the rookie class with some of our draft picks, is we have guys who can just flat out play, and we can play a lot of positionless football.
Y'all did address what y'all been trying to address for the past couple of seasons, and that's defense. Defense.
Right.
I'm not gonna speak too soon, but y'all did well in the draft, coming from a Falcon hater, but I'm telling it like it is. Y'all did address what y'all needed on the line. Y'all did address something you need at the backers. Y'all did address something that you need back in the backfield and the safeties. I think y'all might be able to hold the lead this year and get after the quarterback.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. With Matthew Judon, he was talking about how the Falcons dropped him in the pass coverage a little too much last year, and there is some validity in that. I do feel like they dropped him a little bit in the pass coverage more than I would want to. But there was a lot of loafing plays. I don't feel like we're going to have that this year. I think we're going to be definitely, as far as that 3-4 edge, we're like about 5 deep.
You need rushers, man. You need rush. And it's hard to do that for 60 plays in a row, right? So you need waves of guys that go out there, because you think about the offensive line, they don't sub, right? We sub.
Like we said with the safeties, we have Billy Bowman, who I said remind me a lot of Honey Badger, and that's ironically a guy who he models his game after.
Coaches and players and teammates, they love people who can go get that ball back for you. I've always watched Tyrann Mathieu, and I feel like that's the best comparison is Tyrann Mathieu.
Watts, he models his game after Jesse Bates, and the staff sees him as that.
He can play to the field. He can play to the boundary. He can actually play basically shell defense on what they're doing. If he needs to come down in the core, he can come down in the core. So
Nate Ollie, he spoke about how they like using Walker. He creates some mismatches with using him over the guards, but they're going to start him on the edge.
Walker, like that guy can really rush inside over guards. So really, we should start thinking about like our third down rush group, putting him overside, like rushing over guards, kind of put him like in a spinner package.
And I was like, what's the spinner package about? And then I started listening to Rudd, the middle linebacker coach, actually played under Monty Kiffin and Gus Bradley. Ruttenberg coached under Gus Bradley. Ollie coached under Gus Bradley.
I knew Jeff when he first got into coaching. I was actually in Seattle. I was a secondary coach there.
That Seattle defense, when they had Legion of Boom, they ran a very hybrid style defense. It was a 4-3 package with 3-4 personnel. A 5-man front, oftentimes on maybe first or second down, they might even have Bruce Irwin out there with his hand on the dirt as an edge guy. Moving him around on 3rd and 4th down as that spinner, as they would say specifically, that's actually a position where he gets to play around and move with alignment. Time line up in those A gaps, the B gaps, maybe come off the edge or just mess up the snap count. Definitely seems like they're going to be able to play with a lot of versatility. There's been a lot of talk from a lot of fans saying James Pierce Jr. might be a little too small to play the edge as a full-time guy and play against the run. But he's a 6'6" guy.
I like to see what guys like to do at their, best for them. And he's at 245, 250, and it doesn't hurt him. Let him play at that.
Leonard Floyd, he's a 6'6" guy. Even though they're 240, they might be able to be stout in there against the run and be real strong and be able to use that length. What's your thoughts on that?
It's a long line of long arm defensive ends that can sit that edge. Opposing teams will have wrinkles. It's a cover me lead. Quarterback will drop back and pass the ball a whole lot. I think the running game, where the running game shows some emergence through teams throughout the season. So you may see a couple of teams try to put the ball on the ground, but being versatile at that position, like you saying, at the end, you could do a lot of stuff with these guys, moving around. You even said something about the wide nine we were speaking about earlier.
Yeah.
You got to have a personnel to run that nine, because them ends got to be because they so wide, they out there. Them showing a hybrid of it, just lets you know what kind of versatility that the Falcons may have on that, on that front seven,
Yeah, I really like that. Speaking of that wide nine, with that 4-3 under, even if they don't go completely wide nine, they like to get their splits a lot wider and get more one-on-one matchups across the board. Nate Ollie talked a lot about being an attack defense this year.
We getting off the ball, attacking, throwing haymaker, no jabs. You know what I mean? No jab. It's all haymakers that we trying to do, and you need rushers.
They want to run a lot more gap control and have it one gap in it. One thing I was wrong about, I said that I thought that they wanted to do a lot more two gapping with some of their edge guys and be able to play with a straight 4-man front. But Raheem kind of favors a 5-man front, whereas Jeff Ulbrich likes a 4-man front. But again, he came up under Gus Bradley. So they like to get those guys a little bit wider and just have them attacking, playing games with the offensive linemen. In the past, the Falcons had Calais Campbell kind of dropping back into coverage, playing in space a little bit. They tried to do that a little bit with Grady Jarrett last year as well, too. And they like to have guys that can play out there a little bit. But
they have the guys to do that last year.
Does it feel like a more athletically dynamic defense to you after these draft picks?
Yeah, they make plays in space way easier.
A couple names that have come up have been Zach Harrison, Luka Rororo, and Brandon Dorlus. Specifically, Zach Harrison and Brandon Dorlus, they talk about using them as their big ends.
Rook is special because Rook can win in the B gap. Brandon is like our special utility weapon. He's going to have to do some stuff inside, and we're going to actually put Brandon out on the edge this year. Mismatch versus the tight end. Zach's going to be out on the edge for it.
They're not exactly this guy, but I think they want to be able to use them a little bit like how they do with Chris Jones up in Kansas City. He's not the same exact players, but a very versatile athlete who could play the edge, but also play a little bit of interior. A lot more stunts and twists. They have the interior guys that they feel can go outside also and do a little bit of containment. And if teams want to get real heavy against the run, then they can take those guys and move those to the edge with that Seattle Legion of Boom team. One guy that they would use a lot is Michael Bennett, who was more of an edge guy, but they would use him a lot more on the interior, and I think that they want to do that with Rook. They like him being able to get a lot of one-on-one matchups with the guard and putting some stress on the tackle. So imagine having him there and then Walker lining up on the interior a little bit along with Caden Ellis, blitzing and playing different games with those guys. Now you're creating favorable mismatches, speed on the big guys, and you're getting guys who are a little bit bigger on those outside guys, one-on-one matchups with those big edge guys like Zach Harrison. They want to get him one-on-one with tight ends. I love how Leonard Floyd was talking about pass rush is almost like having a basketball team. You want to have like 2-team rotation almost going on. It kind of reminds me of your Broncos team a little bit.
That Broncos defense, we got a lot of unnamed heroes on that defense. It was pretty good. That's why a lot of people was kind of surprised about what we were doing this year. Like, how the Broncos defense was so good. We got to the quarterback a lot.
Right.
And it was through, like you were saying, just getting guys in, rotating guys in and out, keeping them fresh, bringing them off the edges, showing the quarterback different looks, stunts, twists, everything. Once once the guys bought into that, and it became a system. And once it becomes a system and it works, you keep at it.
Would you rather have a multitude of guys that you can kind of move around? Maybe you have 3 or 4 6-sack guys and maybe 1 10-sack guy and a couple of 7 or 8-sack guys. How do you feel about that?
I want everybody to get their hands dirty. One guy that got 12 sacks, that's good, but I need my whole front 4, front 3, whatever, front 5, they need to be disruptive. I don't necessarily even have to have sacks. Just give me some quarterback knocks down. Let's get some quarterback hurries. Let's just be disruptive. Get the interior lineman to get in there and get in somebody's kitchen. Have my end swooping, trying to get to the quarterback. I still want to see how the season starts because the running game was successful last year. A lot of teams I see is going a lot lighter.
Yeah.
Up front, just because of the passing. But I want to see this year how many teams run the ball 22 to 23 times a game. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because me personally, I'm an old school guy. I'm running the ball. If I see you line the ass on the front line, I'm gashing you. So still a copycat lead. So I still think they're gonna be passing a lot this year. So I'd rather have a lot of kids, a lot of guys on the line that's gonna be firing off. Get me 4 sacks here, 3 sacks here, 7 sacks. I got to have somebody with 8, 9 sacks, but down the line, I got to get pressure regardless. I'd rather for them to at least have multiple sacks, at least 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, I remember some of the coaches for the Falcons, some of the defensive assistants were saying, if you don't have guys that can actually rush you on the interior, they'll just double a lot of those guys.
You got guys outside that can win one-on-one. Now you can't double team people. But if you can't win inside, then they just block inside out. They double team you and they got what they want. So
I feel as though some of those guys we have, they are a little bit undersized. They might, like specifically Zach Harrison, he's like 6'6", but he's like 270 pounds. So he can give you 3, all out full speed reps, and you can throw somebody else in. Again, Brandon Dorless, having those utility guys that can double as a 3-4 defensive end and maybe even a 4-3 defensive end, but also leave them out there in a 3 technique on some of those passing downs. You can have 3 pass rushers who can just play in there and play stout for a couple of downs and move them around.
We actually got some good guys here in free agency, but also when you add young guys to that room, that's only going to make you better. These guys can rush.
Some NFL teams will take the blueprint from the Eagles this year because of the fact you don't have a front 4 or front 3 or front 5 or front 7. You don't see Patrick Mahomes look like how he did in the Super Bowl.
Right.
And Philly got a secondary. They got pretty decent corners. They got hell of a safety, but that front 4. Come on, man. Yeah. They didn't have to do nothing. Yeah. They didn't have to do nothing. That's a luxury when you can get out the quarterback with 4 guys. Plus, on top of that, it's Patrick Mahomes. They made him look average, So, a lot of teams will make go cover their blueprint. They're going to try to go out there and get some dogs in the middle. Not necessarily hogs in the middle, like some big dogs that can get to the quarterback through the kitchen instead of coming through the back door. I'm still thinking that we might see a lot of teams that try to go depth linemen, trying rotating them, keeping them fresh, so they can get after these quarterbacks, man. Because right now, these quarterbacks they still throwing for 250, 300, 330, 340 yards, man, on pretty decent defenses. So this shit got to stop.
I wouldn't be surprised if we seen versatile ball and formation sometimes where they have, let's say, a James Pierce Jr. and also Leonard Floyd on the line, or also Braylon Trice. Maybe a Braylon Trice and one of those other guys, but then still having Jaylen Walker out there at linebacker, along with Devon Diablo and K. Nellis. So they're running more of a 4-3, but it's really like a 2-5, like having like almost 5 linebackers out there with 2 interior linemen, because you have so much speed on the field, but these guys can play a lot more versatility, because that was one name that Nate Ollie also spoke about as well too, was Braylon Trice, how he's just so violent and so stout of a player, and he gets there and it's not necessarily pretty, but you know, he gets the quarterback on the ground. He's getting there with bad intention. He's good against the run as well too. I think it's really important to have guys that can play really stout against the run, but also give you some threat against the pass as well too. Do you feel as though it becomes a problem when you have too many good players? How do you get guys to buy into having all that depth? Because AJ Terrell did speak, like how you said about, you know, secondary, they want to have guys up front. They value. He talked about how you really value having those guys up front that can get to the quarterback.
Hey, it all comes down to coaching and scheming, coaching and the scheming. You got to buy into. The boys, the guys gonna have to buy into the scheme. They're gonna have, and the coaches gonna have to get them to buy into it. That means they're gonna have to, you know, to tinker with stuff. Get in the meeting rooms, get out in practice, preseason games, see how it look, and then go from there. But it starts from the coaching. It starts from there, and then the guys gonna have to buy in to that, and they're gonna have to like it once they see it working. Once they see it works, and everybody get a little clock. You know, you might have some guys out there that are not getting a lot of burn. But as long as they get some plays in, and it's working, they'll buy into it.
Right.
They'll buy into it. But you know, it's early. It's the first season. You know, y'all might take y'all little hiccups here and there. But I mean, right now y'all look pretty young up front. Y'all did some good things in the offseason.
Yeah.
You got guys who are going to be competitive and play hard, and I think it just kind of, you know, when your backup guys are pushing the starters and they feel like they should be starters as well, it kind of gives a whole swag.
Well, for the past 2 seasons, y'all been overcompensated.
Yeah.
So, you know, for the first time, overcompensating ain't bad, because it's things and it's positions that y'all really needed. So y'all not, I mean, Raheem Myers and crew, they saying, damn all that. I don't give a damn, we got this. Go get some more. Like,
Right.
Damn, I'm tired. Hey, don't load up, because they just don't know. I guess y'all organization getting tired of just having to worry about things season in, season out. So y'all tried to double down on stuff that y'all need to address for the past couple of seasons now. Like, hey man, we going all in, man. We need this, go get them. We need that, go do it. If it don't work out, oh well, but we just gonna overcompensate and see what we got, and then we'll just weed out the bad. And if it's no bad, y'all in the perfect situation.
Right.
A lot of Falcons fans were really upset about Jaylen Walker wearing number 11, being that that's Julio Jones's number. I think it's kind of funny. I think it's very rare that you have players that are just so good that you should retire their number. Anyway, in football, but do you feel like if there was a
it wasn't like Julio was Lawrence Taylor? Because I see old boy had asked Lawrence Taylor for a number. Lawrence Taylor like, hell no, boy, you ain't get my number.
Right. Hey, listen, when you Lawrence Taylor, you deserve that right, but I don't feel like Julio Jones is. I don't even think Julio Jones is a top 5 receiver of all time.
No, he's not. He's not. He's not. He could have been.
Could have been. Definitely a top 5 talent.
Could have been, man. But them bad wheels, he got bad wheels too early in his career.
Hey, listen, this is gonna be controversial. I think I'm gonna upset a lot of Falcons fans, and I love Julio, man. Jet was that guy. Comparative to what you would want a number 1, his hands weren't as good as it could have been. He was very similar to T.O. in that regard, but also I don't think he didn't stay as healthy and didn't take care of his body as well. You know, whether it was just a bunch of injuries that piled up. Not saying he didn't do it, but his body wasn't able to hold up.
He didn't have good hands. He didn't have good hands.
He didn't have great.
He had strong hands,
Right.
but he didn't have good hands. Now Terrell Owens had bad hands, but his hands was a whole lot better than Julio's.
Ooh, a whole lot better. Yeah.
Oh yeah, whole lot better.
I feel like they both would have those lapse drops, but what I was gonna say, I think that T.O. probably
was a better route runner. You know, Terrell was a better route runner.
That's exactly what I was about to say. Is I think T.O. was a way better route runner than Julio. Not that Julio was a terrible route runner, but I don't think he was as good at it. Because once he got older, he would have been getting open a lot more. He would have been able to still prolong his career.
Yeah, because you had to see, you know, Julio might have 5, 6, 7 catches, 130, 135, 150. But, you know, Terrell might have 17, 18 catches, you know, 215, 220, 230, you know?
Yeah.
He caught the ball in volume a lot, you know?
So we're in agreement that T.O., for example, is definitely hands down better than.
Yeah.
So where would you put Julio on your all-time list of wide receivers? Where did he make your top what? I don't even know if I put Julio on my top 10.
You know, he's most definitely not in my top 10 because we thought Julio was a unicorn.
I mean, he
first
was.
got in the league.
Yeah.
But now, as you get into the league, as we get a little older, as the league goes on, it's a lot of Julios out there now. It's a lot of Julios out there. He's not in my top 10. Could he be in my top? I say, damn.
Julio or AB?
Julio, AB?
Julio.
AB, I'll give me Julio.
AB.
Okay.
AB, man. AB. AB was a dog. AB was a dog, bro.
Julio was too, though.
AB. Julio was a dog, but he steered a lot of defenses. He scared a lot of defenses. I could put Julio in my top 15 if he was a red zone guy.
Right.
He wasn't good in the red zone. He wasn't. That's why I can't even put him in my top 10. Can't even put him in my top 15. Top 25, yeah. Yeah, he can make my top 25. But just imagine how many touchdowns he would have if he was a red zone guy.
Right.
He did get the Falcons down the field.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. But when he got inside that 20, when he got inside plus territory, you know, inside that 40 plus territory in the 20 in the red zone, he wasn't effective. He just wasn't. And that's true.
That is 100% true. That is 100% true. I definitely agree with that. So I saw a Bucks fan saying we got Chris Godwin, we got Mike Evans, we got this guy that we just drafted, and it's like, who y'all gonna guard? Who y'all gonna? And I was like, nobody's worried about that. Like with you guys having Baker at the helm, and it's like, oh, you said it like he's a liability. And I said, no, Baker's really good, but we got some edge rushers where you guys had some trouble blocking. And I feel like he's just going to kind of make those mistakes that you might, you know, under pressure. He's not good under pressure. Sometimes he can be a little inaccurate. He's very accurate, but he can be inaccurate on very key plays that you need from him at times.
And the guy was
Baker's a gunslinger.
He's a gunslinger.
Who's not as accurate as he could be and can't make all the throws that he wants to make. The guy told me that he feels like Baker is the best quarterback in the NFC South.
Well, it's one thing about Baker, and it's one thing about gunslingers. Mm-hmm. Once they get hot and they real hot, they hard to stop.
Yeah.
But when they cold, they really cold. So it's just all about what Baker we all face 2 times this year. Will it be the very hot Baker or the very cold Baker? You never know. But once he heats up, he hard to stop, man. And you know that. You know that.
No, I do. I agree. When he gets hot, he can be hard to stop. But I also don't feel like he's necessarily a a difference maker. He's not a guy that can just take over the game necessarily like that. I don't think he's the best quarterback in NFC South. Do you think he is?
Right now, until proven wrong, he's the best. He's the best quarterback in the NFC South because you don't know what Shuck gonna do. All Shucks, what's his name? Tyler Shuck. All
Yeah.
Shuck. You got Bryce and you got Penix. I think Carolina gonna be a little better. I don't think they're a playoff team. I don't think they're gonna win the NFC South, but they may be a little better. You never know with New Orleans. You never know what's going on in New Orleans. But we said this last year, C-Mo. We said the same exact thing last year. We were like, shit, y'all ain't got nobody to worry about. The Saints are gonna be nothing. Carolina gonna be nothing. The only somebody y'all had to fight with are the Bucks. And I think y'all gonna be right back in the same predicament this year. Who's gonna pull away? Who's gonna show the dominance? But honestly, I think y'all and Tampa Bay will make the playoffs this year. I don't know who's gonna win the NFC South, but one of y'all gonna be going in at either the division leader or a wild card. I still think both of y'all will get in the playoffs this year.
I could definitely see the Bucks making the playoffs again. I do think they've got a solid team, and hell, Bryce Young could wind up being the cream of the crop out of all those, or him and Penix could be neck and neck for quarterback, and we could also see Penix decline. I know nothing's written in stone. I just feel like he's got some of the traits, but you do got some good points about those other guys. I feel like the Saints are gonna be kind of, you make it to this point, like you can try to count these guys out based on measurables, but these guys get paid. All these guys get paid, and you got to respect it.
Everybody professionals,
Everybody's professional. Yeah, definitely, man.
Everybody's professional. So it's gonna be a hell of a season. I think, like I say, I want to see what the Falcons defense. I want to see how y'all look. Not really too much worry about y'all, but I do want to see how y'all look so I can start hanging. Start doing a little trolling. But to be as a Falcon hater, I hope y'all do bad. I hope y'all don't do a damn thing. But as a sports guy, y'all did pretty damn good in the draft.
Guys, that's our show for today. Like I said, stay tuned for my Football Made Easy series coming up soon. SEMO, Point Game Official, Falcons Bird Bath, baby. Check them out. Peace.